All right. So today you guys are doing the efficiency and productivity part. I'm going to go over that and make a quicker run through this whole thing. So if you hear it first, it's probably going to be easy to go through these chapters and sections before you actually start doing the reading. But reading is also going to help as well. But I'm thinking that if I get you this PowerPoint and go over this with you, it'll be a lot easier for you to do it. So this is Unit 2, lesson costs. We're going to go over efficiency and productivity, division of labor, law of diminishing returns, economies and diseconomies of scale, and a lot of other things that go with it. So increasing profit, there's many ways you can do that. And one of the ways you can do it is reducing your startup costs. You can use some of the things that you already have. Here it gives an example. A website design business has lower startup costs than a low truck or tow truck business because it doesn't require as much equipment. So also here, you might decide to work from home, your home until your business can afford to rent space. So they call that barriers to entry. You want to minimize that so it's easier to start up your business, and that way it'll increase your profit. So another way to do that is to look for bargains, and we're going to talk about productivity and those types of things. So you can increase your productivity. I'm not going to talk too much about that because that comes in here later. Raising prices, which is also kind of dangerous because sometimes you differentiate your product from different businesses that you're competing against by prices. But obviously, if you raise your price and do some things to allow you to do that, maybe it's a good environment, or you're adding, here it says you're adding value, utility, which is kind of the same thing. That makes that product or service provide more for the customer. So you can increase your profit by raising prices. All right, so again, increasing profit, getting more customers. Some people do that mostly by marketing, but obviously if you increase your customers, you'll also increase your profit. Efficiency and productivity. This is, a lot of these terms are business terms, but you'll see them a lot in economics as well on these next few slides. But efficiency is your ability to waste less time and less energy to produce something. That could be done through the process of way you're doing something. They have this thing called Six Sigma in business. If you're the best Six Sigma person, they say you have a black belt in Six Sigma, which is looking at an area where they produce something, or looking at a process and finding ways to make that process more efficient. And business people and managers and people that are good at what they do, they look at ways that their employees can be more efficient. That way they increase their productivity and they increase their profits. So that's that part. Productivity is the amount of time and the amount of workers that it takes to produce something. And here's the more the definition that you'll see in the chapter coming up. Faster production usually increases the supply and lowers the price. This improves consumer access to the product because it's more affordable and available. So improving your productivity obviously will improve or increase your profit. I talked about productivity. Obviously, if you're more efficient, you're going to start producing more, increasing the supply and then lowering the prices because you have more supply. You can do that because you become more efficient. So productivity is part of that. And technology, as you know, technology is around us all the time, so sometimes we don't pay attention, but cash registers and now in the future for robots and things like that. Technology and having better technology that replaces some of the processes and things that we do to make us more efficient can also increase profit and bring down your costs. The big back in the card times, they had this thing called, let me go back, division of labor. And soon we'll talk about economies of scale, like being larger allows you to have division of labor. So then you can become specialized. So they always talk about the assembly line in cars back in the day. So if you had one person that just put on doors or put on tires, you could train that person. They can become very skilled on being able to do it. And because they're concentrating and focusing on one thing and not building a whole car on their own, they become more productive. Because if you just had to do one task and you were very good at doing that task, obviously the time to take to do that task is going to be a lot better than someone that has multiple jobs. So division of labor allows you to be specialized. The assembly line was one of the first things with the Ford car company to increase productivity and increase profits. A person that doesn't do that is generalization, is when an employee performs a big range of tasks that are necessarily related to each other. So I went down to like a Gila and over there, and there's a family that owns a grocery type store, and those two members are doing everything. They're purchasing, they're doing the accounting, they're making sandwiches for the cold area, they're stocking shelves, they're working the cash register. So they're doing everything. And that's what generalization is. And small businesses usually have to do that. And then sometimes those people outsource. So maybe they're horrible at accounting, which a lot of people, maybe they're good at what they do, but they're not good at doing their financing. So they'll outsource that. So sometimes they do that with people or companies. For example, we outsource at our schools for our cafeteria. Those aren't actually employees of Wickenburg School District. They're work for a different company. So we're not in the business of education to make food. So we outsource it and have someone that knows what they're doing and put it out for bid, and people try to get the job, and we hire companies to do the food service for our schools. And that's outsourcing. The last one is motivating people. That's a hard one to do. People do it with different strategies, like empowering their employees to help make decisions and make their workplace better. And because people are empowered and they're not just being told what to do, a lot of times they're more motivated because they feel valued. Some places have a great work area, like Google. You can go get a haircut, and when you work for Google inside the facility, you can play pool, you can bowl. A lot of times they don't put restrictions on employees because they know if you got goals, you meet those goals. Sometimes you can just not go into work, and that's a work environment to help motivate. So motivate can increase profit as well. The law of diminishing returns. So I think we're going to come up on economies of scale. Let me go to economies of scale first. So economies of scale is what I was talking about earlier. So Walmart benefits from economies of scale. They can, because they're so large, they want to purchase a needle to pump air into sports equipment. They can buy hundreds of thousands of those needles, and because they do that, they get such a large discount, and they can buy it at such a low price, and therefore they're benefiting from economies of scale from size. So that also helps not only with those types of things with purchasing and what it says here, variable costs, but it also can help with labor. So you can obviously have a division of labor, and like I said before, have people specialize in certain areas. So that can help in the increasing profits. So this thing called law of diminishing returns. There's only so much that you can do to eventually you're going to start lowering that benefit and maybe even hurting yourself. So for example, say we've got a 2,000 square foot facility, and we keep on adding, and we make shirts. We have 10 people, but if we can increase it to 20, well, we can therefore make more and benefit from economies of scale and productivity and that type of thing, but there's only so many people we can put in a 2,000 square foot building. We start adding 30, 40, and 50, the workers become less efficient because they're working in a crowded space or whatever it is, or you don't have the technology to do what to increase productivity with more employees. So all of a sudden that law of diminishing returns gets less and less. And then eventually, which is the last slide here, is diseconomies of scale. And that's when cost per unit increase as the company sells more units. And the example I just gave you is kind of what that is. So let's just read this part. This may be caused by law of diminishing returns, which is when productivity decreases because one of the factors of production is higher than the ideal amount in comparison to other factors. All right, so it went through that quick. I think that's the last one. Yeah, that's the last one. And that is it. And you can also obviously read and go through. They give you more examples of all the things I just talked about. But that's a quick few minutes of the large chapter you guys will be doing today. And that's it. Thank you.